is it fair to say that somehow, some way, although he's had a fairly short stint, we've kind of become very big Tanner Anderson fans?
Yeah, Tanner Anderson hive in the building.
When he is doing anything, we make sure to talk about it. We probably spend a little more time on him than anyone else, and I think the A's PR team picked up on it because they're nice enough to make him available, and he's nice enough on a game day. We should underline that to join our stupid show in the morning. Tanner Anderson, I'm Dave. That's Kyle. That's Jay. Thank you for joining us. How are you this morning?
And thanks for having me.
Thank you. Now, we'll get the niceties out of the way. I should point. You never want to believe what you read on social media, but I'm sure you've heard this before. You went to a fairly good school, and that's important. Was there a point where you thought, I'm going to this school, this is a great backup in case baseball doesn't work out, or were you always kind of laser focused on making the show?
Yeah, that was definitely the main point. Is I wanted to play baseball. I'd always dreamed of playing baseball, but it's a small opportunity to be able to do that, and having school as Plan B is huge. So I'd like to say I kind of split my focus about 50-50. But there was a point, maybe halfway through college, maybe sophomore, junior year, where I was like, okay, I have a real chance here. So then I started to, slightly shift my focus towards baseball a lot more.
I know the football team at Harvard has some limitations in what they can do postseason-wise because of the final schedule. Do you guys have those same restrictions in baseball at all?
Yeah. So, the student-athlete life at Harvard is pretty much just a student life at Harvard. They don't really cut any corners. They don't really let us, do a lot of things that I feel like some athletes at other schools can kind of get away with. And they keep it really strict, but I really like that because it kept us in line. It made us actually care a lot about the student life. From there's certain points where we got snowed in one time in Tulsa and had to miss a midterm, and our professors were livid about it. They were like, "Well, how are you missing this? You can't miss this. It's not possible." So we had to get the coaches involved, and it was finally all figured out. But that just goes to show how much they care about how we succeed in the academic part of school.
2011 Ivy League honor roll member Tanner Anderson joining us. I mean, that's not just like your everyday honor roll, by the way, Kyle. He's going to Harvard, and he hits the honor roll while playing baseball, and you just mentioned it. There is no difference. So I would imagine, and I don't know, I've never played either college sport, that football seems a lot more hardcore with what they have you do physically and time constraint-wise, but were the coaches, I would imagine, aware of that at Harvard, and I don't want to say take it easier on you, but maybe be more likely to work around your class schedule because you don't have a choice, really, I would think.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we didn't have a perfect schedule every single day. We had something called individuals that took up a lot of our time, where guys would come in certain blocks of the day, and the coaches would just be around the baseball field, and they'd work with 5 to 10 guys at a time, simply because a lot of times we couldn't get, all 30 of us out to a practice at the same time every day because of the class schedule.
I promise we're going to talk about your A's career, by the way, but we are fascinated, too. Is we always want to get to know somebody the first time we talk to them. You were a history and science major, at least that's what it says. So what, in your mind, was that going to translate to in the private sector if baseball, for some reason, hadn't worked out? What'd you want to be?
Well, when I first went in, as a freshman, I had a little bit of high aspirations. I wanted to do biomedical engineering. My first semester, I did really well with it. But then when baseball hit, I upped the classes, and the schedule was so difficult. I pretty much got wet out in a pre-med class. So then I was like, I don't know if I could handle these 8-hour labs while playing baseball. And I really loved science, and history of science was kind of that perfect mix where it was just enough science to where I was super interested in it, but also a lot of originality and paper writing, and it didn't take as much, time, firsthand time in the lab. And so basically I was like, all right, I want to just do science, and this is as close as I can get. But I didn't really know what it could play out to be as, like career-wise. I'd always wanted to do like lab funding, be like on the fundraising side of big-time like clinical scientific labs.
Well, and I know you haven't been there too long, but I'm sure you're aware, Stephen Piscotty, who is a friend of ours, went to Stanford, and I forget what his major is. It's like biochemical engineering. It's something crazy where he wants to work with wind and solar. It makes me
smartest team in baseball.
Seriously, like
confirmed.
Now I'm thinking if like all the A's were sitting around watching Jeopardy, I think it pretty much comes down to Tanner and Steven. I think that's your final two.
Biochemical is way above the history of science that I did in college. So I got to give kudos for that, because that's an incredible accomplishment.
I have one last non-A's question, then we'll get to some baseball. Do you just carry around like a Harvard degree with you?
Oh, you got to.
Like I would frame it and just have it on me.
A necklace
just at all times.
No, I don't do that. A lot of guys would, in college though, I'll tell you what, a lot of guys would go around the bars and have their IDs on them just firsthand, they would call it the H-bomb, and they'd drop it. And I was not ever a big fan of that, but it was a thing.
I imagine in the minor leagues coming up, I'm sure nobody ever gave you crap for going to Harvard, though. Ever, not once.
Yeah, well, it's a continuous struggle.
I have an actual baseball question here. Here we go. So you get called up to the A's as a starter. You've done some starting in your minor league career. That's primarily what you did in Las Vegas this year. How is that an adjustment for a pitcher going from being a reliever to a starter? Because to a fan, it just seems like, oh, you get warmed up, you go out there and you pitch. But the preparation's obviously got to be a lot different.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a completely different animal. Out of relief, which is kind of what I was used to in the past, there's like an adrenaline rush, right before you go in, especially if you got your starters, has base runners on or something, and you come in late in the game and you're trying to hold the game where it is, and there's just it's just an unexplainable adrenaline rush that honestly only I think some people get when they start, but I think there's a select group of people that also get that when they start. And for me, it was developing that kind of adrenaline. Because, when I know it's start day, I know I'm going to pitch at this time. And it's not like, I'm building up, like, it's not like I'm just called on randomly to go pitch. And then I'm like, right. Let's go, let's get it going. So for me, that was a huge adjustment, just because the first inning was like, you can't just be lackadaisical in the first inning. You got to go out there with your stuff in the first inning. And then also it's it's the reason I like it a little bit more than the pen, besides the adrenaline thing, is that you can just get a little more intellectual with it. And I know that kind of fits my pedigree a little bit, but it's true, because, you got to get through a lineup 3 times. So, you got to be thinking, okay, what did this guy do last time? What's effective against him? What should I use in this situation? Because out of the bullpen, you're just like, all right, I got to cover this 1 inning. Let's go. Let's the best thing I have right now, and just get after it.
Well, hold on now, Tanner, because we had a guy call in last week, a listener, and he said that there's no such thing as clutch in sports.
Point.
He said that getting it out in the bottom of the 9th inning with the bases loaded is the same out as you would get in the second or third inning or first out of the game. This is a semi-popular thought amongst a lot of stat heads, too, and I understand the need for stats, and I'm not killing that, but I have yet to ask an athlete who's actually played at the professional level that question and not have them roll their eyes literally out the back of their head.
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally, an out is an out, so, I mean, like, technically, yeah, it's the same thing.
Right. But
no, it's not even close. It's, I mean, yeah, there's no way to explain it other than to say, like, actually do this and see for yourself. Because, yeah, to get 3 outs, I mean, getting the 3rd out in the 9th with bases loaded versus, some random out in the 3rd inning or something, they're completely different animals.
Tanner Anderson joining us. Speaking of pressure, so we go back to your first start for the A's. This wasn't just your everyday start. As I remember it, I believe you met the team in Texas. There was weather in Florida, so you guys get in late. And then you make your first start against the Rays. Ho-hum. Oh, except for the fact that you're a Plant High School graduate in Tampa, Florida. You're pitching in your hometown. So how does that go? Did you have requests all over the place? And it's Tampa, so I imagine you didn't have much problem filling them if you did. But that's a lot more pressure, I think, than a lot of people have in that start.
Yeah, I kind of figured it would be as well. So when I told my parents, that I was going to be pitching down there, I told them, I said, hey, invite all the family you want, invite all the friends you want, just don't tell me who you invite to the game, because I don't want to know who else in my cheering section. And I think that worked out perfectly because honestly, it made the moment even more surreal, because after the game, after throwing pretty decently, I went back out to see a lot of them because I haven't seen them in a couple months. And when I went back out, there was 20 plus people, and I was just like, wow, this is really cool, and I didn't expect to see all those people. I expected maybe 10 or something, maybe 3 friends and then my immediate family, but there was people from all over the place that, I had played baseball with in the past. And my parents had reached out to, and, I didn't have all those pressures of, oh, look, there's all these people out there watching me do this. So I think it worked out perfectly.
So it was June 10th. That was the start, and that was game 1 of that series. So you had 2 more games in Tampa Bay before you left. Did you get a chance to get a home-cooked meal? Did you get a chance to spend some time with friends and family, or were you just too caught up in everything and didn't have time to do that?
No, I definitely took advantage of being at home for sure. Yeah, only going to be there for 3 days and probably won't see him again for another 3 months or so. So I definitely, any chance I had, pretty much, that I wasn't at the field, I was either with my parents out to eat, or I went by the house and I hung out with some family and friends pretty often during that time frame.
Do you have a favorite food spot out there? We're big into food here on this show.
Yeah,
so.
Very big into food.
Favorite food spot? I live pretty close to a place called Datz, which it's spelled D-A-T-Z, and it's on McDill.
Okay.
It's a great restaurant. It's pretty much got a variety of just anything you want. But if we're not talking specifically, Cuban food in Tampa is really good.
Yeah.
So if you're down there and you ever want to experience an authentic Cuban, as close as you can get to authentic Cuban, that is where you go.
Now,
good to know.
Sticking on the food here, you're probably also, if you have a chance to be around your house, I'm guessing restaurant isn't always number one priority. So when you go home,
right.
what's the meal that you demand?
Oh, the meal I demand. Well, my mom does a phenomenal salmon. Okay, probably a weird answer for you, but she does a phenomenal salmon, and we normally do it with a little Caesar salad on the side, and that is easily the combination between those two it's perfect for me. I love it every time she makes that.
Kyle, you can choose between the Cheesy Todd, the Double D, the Biggity Big Burger, the Cedar Plank Shim Burger, and the Beyond Burger, all at Datz. And really, honestly, competitive prices. I got to be honest here. I've never heard of this place before. It also says, and this is important, and when do you read this? Burger can take up to 20 minutes because we cook it to order, but trust us, it's our number one seller. If I'm ever out in Florida, we're in, Tanner.
Yeah, the menu is well constructed. There's so much stuff. You know, everything has a little paragraph about it, but you get to kind of read behind the and figure it all out. And they have really good drink selection. And and there's a dessert place right next door called Bill that's also owned by the same company. So after you eat, you can go over there, get a dessert, and they do everything over there too. So it's a really good combo.
Tanner Anderson joining us.
I'm sold.
Going to the being a part of that A's clubhouse, this is a question we like to ask all our A's friends. Whether they're a winning team or a losing team, and it seems like right now, 2 games above 500, just right there waiting, and you have pitching help on the way too. But it always seems one thing in common is the professionalism of the team, the leadership starting with the skipper. It just seems like that locker room is always super tight with goofballs like Chappie and all that. Did you get that sense right away that you were welcomed in?
Absolutely. I have never been more welcome into a clubhouse in my life, and it honestly started spring training because I was traded over from the Pirates in the off season, and it was my first time being traded, so I'm a little nervous. I don't know pretty much anyone in the organization at all, and so I show up to spring training, and right then and there, like I just felt so included and so welcomed, and just part of the team already. The transition up to this level from AAA was nothing. It was a breeze, especially when it came to the guys. And I think overall that just gets so much easier and so much sweeter.
Do you have a good story about when you found out you were getting called up, or did you kind of have an idea ahead of time, knowing that just with the way the A's pitching staff was going and players getting hurt, did you kind of know that you were going to get called up?
No, I didn't at all. I have a phenomenal story other than, my manager, Fran Riordan, and pitching coach, Rick, we're basically, sitting in the office and they're like, hey, come on in here. And I've gone in there a few times, so I wasn't expecting much from it. But, they changed my start date, and they're like, it's not going to be starting Sunday anymore. We start Monday. And I was like, okay, no big deal. But a pitching coach had a really tough poker face. I mean, it was so readable. It was ridiculous. He's over there like half smiling, and I'm like, okay, so something's going on here. Like, I don't know what it is. And they're like, yeah, you're pitching Monday against Tampa in the big leagues. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. But did I expect to go up? Absolutely not. I mean, I thought I was pitching particularly well. I was a little, just thinking about how my results had been down there. But then again, I started to think and realize it is the PCL. There is a little bit of a crush down there as a pitcher. But yeah, no, I wasn't expecting to go up at all. And I hadn't been paying attention to the lines of what was going on with the starters at this level. And then they hit me with that. So I was super surprised, but also a little bit not surprised because he gave it away so early within the meeting.
Wrapping up with Tanner Anderson, a couple just real quick fire questions. This is going to bug the heck out of me. You take the time to spend time with us. We want to take the time to try to get to know you. Is it Forsheimer House?
Yeah, it's Forsheimer. Yeah.
Okay, just it's spelled. I can read, but it is. There's a P in there.
I can read.
No, I'm saying I have basic reading skills, but this is a difficult. There's a P in a Forsheimer. So
yeah, I got you. Okay. Forsheimer. Yep.
And then lastly, no relation to Brett Anderson, right? We already figured that out.
No.
Okay.
You're certain because Anderson's a pretty rare last name.
Yeah. Is there a rivalry? Is there an Anderson rivalry between? Did you guys?
There is a club that you do get invited to join, but that's for a certain age.
Tanner Anderson's a great sport, and we're happy to meet him. He is a member of your Oakland Athletics, and of course, all your A's games you can hear, including the one today, where hopefully they put up another 16 runs right here on Sports 1140 KHTK. I know it's game day, Tanner. We appreciate your time. We hope we get to talk to you again this summer.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
All right, thank you. It's Tanner Anderson.
You're listening to The Drive.